But I thought we'd go around and do quick introductions. Bonnie,
Okay.
you go ahead.
I'm Bonnie O'Day.
Oh, hi, my name is Raymond Moy. I'm part of the DASH staff. I serve as the Chief Infrastructure and Development Officer.
I'm Camila Olivares. I'm the Director of Marketing and Public Engagement and the DAC Staff Liaison.
Jace King, longtime DAC member and writer extraordinaire.
Brendan Kiviat, relatively new DAC member, just joined this year.
Joan, I've been a DAC member since the very beginning, since 2021.
Doug Stevenson, brand new DAC member.
All right, welcome.
Welcome to me. Eric Adams, I've been a member for 2 years now.
All right. And
Yeah, I'll do the roll call.
yeah, I don't see who's online, but I did see, actually, thought I saw Peyton earlier and I saw Jim Mauslenka earlier.
I'm here.
Okay, so I'll start with the roll call. Nathaniel Cartagena, I know he's on his way. Yeah. Jim Durham.
Here.
Eric Adams,
President.
Marcus Bernier. I know he excused himself from the meeting.
Nathaniel Cartagena is present by phone.
Matthew McManus. I know he was also, wait. Matthew McManus, I know he also excused himself. James Maslanka,
Here.
Yvette Young.
Here.
Jason Koenig.
Here.
Bonnie O'Day.
Here.
Eric Van Horn. Jimmy Palmer.
Here, thanks.
Jacob Yosef. Talvin O'Brien. Peyton Brown.
Here.
Brendan Kiviat,
Here.
and Doug Stevenson.
Here.
Well, great. The next item on the agenda, I believe, are the meeting minutes. And so Caleb got those out to us, I think it was yesterday or the day before. I lost track of days this week. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the last?
I'll make a motion to approve
Is
minutes.
there a second?
No second.
Okay, any discussion? Everybody likes the minutes? Thank you. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Ayes have it, minutes are approved.
Perfect, and just in time.
Perfect timing, just took care of the, welcome Mayor, just took care of the minutes approval. And I think we should start with introductions, but first, right now I'm Jim Durham, I'm the vice chair. Our chair, Nathaniel Cartagena, is on his way, so he'll be here shortly. And I thought we could go around introductions. You would like.
Eric Adams, been a DAC member for 2 years.
Doug Stevenson, I've been a DAC member for 5 minutes now.
Yeah, okay. That's now, I've been with DAC for 5 years.
Brendan Kiviat, I just joined DAC this year.
Jace King, DAC for 5 years.
And all of us are staff, yes, yeah,
But you can still introduce
yes.
yourself.
Camilla Olivares.
Raymond Moy. Caleb Keller.
And I'm Bonnie O'Day.
And back to Jim Durham and Bonnie.
Oh, and I've been a member since the beginning,
I
5
was gonna
years.
say, Bonnie, Jason, and I were fortunate enough to be some of the original members, and I believe April 21, when Josh had wanted to stand up this committee earlier, but with something going on in 2020 that he delayed it to 2021. That's when we started up.
We also have a couple of DAC members joining virtually, so just wanted to give them an opportunity to also introduce themselves
Yeah,
as well.
thanks. Okay. Why
Uh,
do we, now I can see him on the screen.
Peyton, would you like to come off with mute?
Hi, I'm Peyton Brown and I joined DAC last December. It's nice to meet you.
Jim?
Hi, I'm Jim Mesflank. I've been with DAC for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. I forget the number of times or the number of years I've been, but I've enjoyed working with you guys.
Thank you. Jimmy?
Hi there, Jimmy Palmer. Thanks for having me. Been in the deck for about 1.5 years now. And Alexandria baseball did win that game, the DAC night game. So it was very long though. I just want to throw it out there.
I think the bus brought us some good luck, but the boys deserve all the credit.
Undefeated in the Dash jerseys.
I'm telling you, it's good luck charm. And then we also have Nathaniel Cartagena, our chair. Would you like to come up and mute, or would you like to just introduce yourself when you're able to join us, Nathaniel?
I'm right at the front door. I just had to ring the doorbell. So I can introduce myself in just a minute when I come up.
All right, we'll see you in a second. Thank you.
So welcome, Mayor Gaskins. Thank you so much for being here. Josh had a conflict, so he's not able to make it to the meeting, but we have Raymond here to answer any questions that you might all have about that Dash.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Just a little bit of an overview about the DAC group. This is a advisory committee that composes of Dash riders, regular Dash riders from throughout the system, and all walks of life and members of our community. This committee has existed since 2021-ish, 2021. And the vision of this committee is to provide insight and perspective and advocacy on behalf of the ridership and folks who ride Dash, and they see and feel and experience every part of the system that we may not get to every single day. A little bit of a point of interest in my career. I started my career in transit many years ago, but my first role in transit was sitting on a group exactly like this. I served on the transit advisory group with the exact same purpose, the exact same composition and mission. And as a high schooler, I was a high school member, brought a lot of points of curiosities and questions and feedback to the table. But that's what really started my career in transit. And my vision is I hope that it opens up those same opportunities and those feedback avenues for these folks here. So thank you for joining us. And I think we've carved out time on the agenda for just overall general Q&A. Q&A for you and any remarks, Q&A for you, remarks you'd like to share on behalf of yourself and City Council on your vision for Dash as a whole and transportation and transit in the city.
Sure. Well, Nathaniel, do you want to go first? If you're ready, to come in, and then I'm happy to.
Sure. Sorry to show up sweating. I've literally biked to save a few minutes. Nathaniel Cartagena. I'm in IT by trade. I've been a member of the DAC for 2 years, a little over 2 years. I assumed the chairship in, I guess 5 quarters ago, but Jim was kind enough to take the first quarter for me. So, that's quick intro.
Well, I thank you all for inviting me to join. I'm really excited to be here and to be a part of this conversation. I don't have a formal agenda. I was just kind of talking with Josh, and we had talked about different meetings or ways for me to continue to learn about Dash, continue to learn about the things that we're doing well, but also the areas where we need to improve. And he was like, you should just come sit on a DAC meeting. So that's what brings me here. I guess what I would say are a couple of things as I think about the role of Dash in our community. So if you know me, you know my story. Then I was raised by a single mom. I grew up in Pittsburgh. All my life, we did not have a car. And so much of our life sort of rose and fell with whether or not the PAT bus was going to be on time. Because if you work multiple jobs, if one bus is late, and it's a job that you have to clock in, it's messed up the whole rest of your day. But most importantly, it's messed up your paycheck. And so for me, making sure that we have reliable, dependable service, no matter who's using it or where they want to go, is really important to me. I now sit on NBTA and on the COG, and so I'm getting pulled into all these regional conversations. And what I love most is that when we talk about transportation, conversation. There's not a person who has a single bad thing to say about Dash. Like they want to know how we do what we do, whether we're talking about sort of the team that we have, whether we're talking about the relationship we have with our employees and the ways that we've been able to negotiate such good collective and strong bargaining agreements, the ways in which we've been able to expand our fleet, the things we're doing with leveraging some of the low no emission grants. Like I feel like people are constantly like, how do you get a system like that? I know even when I talk, there's been all these conversations about consolidation and things like that. My message has always been, you guys want to be us, we don't want to be you. So if you're going to try and do that in a system, you'd have to come up to the standards that we execute on. And so I'm really proud to be able to talk about our system in that way. I guess moving forward, I have really appreciated last year we did a working session with the council and with the board. I think that was the first time we've done something like that. But it was really helpful for us to start thinking about the issues we need to be planning for long term. I think much of that conversation was on, the bus infrastructure itself and the quality of our fleet, what we're going to be working on. I think future conversations the council really wants to talk about is we know it is important to keep Dash free. And so how do we plan for that? And how do we make sure that that's sustainable? And so I know that'll be in future conversations. I'm really excited. We just passed the budget last night. I'm sure you saw. There included the expansion of a line 32. So I think that's a really big deal. I've also been super excited to just see other partnerships that Dash is doing. I was here less than a month ago for the kickoff of the month of the young child and the new Dash bus that has all of the great information from kids' first years. So all that to say, like, I know we do a lot of things that we should be proud of, but I also know part of the role that you guys play is you give us a to keep improving. So I don't know that I have a specific question or many more remarks to give, but I just want to open the space for you to tell me what you think it is I should be thinking about as we move forward and as we plan for, I think Raymond, we said fall, like September is when we're going to do that work session. As we plan for a council Dash work session, what should we be thinking about?
Ready to.
And I'm gonna take notes on my phone. I know I'm not being disrespectful. I've just noticed it's a little easier for me. So let me pull up my notes page.
So first of all, thank you for that joint session with Dash last fall. I think that was super informative just for the general public as well as it was important, I think, direction and guidance to Dash and it's great that the council, I think, invested that time. So I thank you for that and thank you for the budget. Pivoting to one of the things you talked about is the regional coordination. And actually, I think you used the word consolidation because there was a bill introduced. Was it Senator Servell? I forget who. Senate Majority Leader who said, yeah, we need just one consolidated Northern Virginia bus system. And boy, I just didn't like that. So I thought, I think that's something that DAC should be aware of as a discussion. I like the fact that you brought it up and phrased it about, but I think one of the keys to continuing to improve Dash somewhat independently of the region is the coordination part. And I wondered if Ray could first bring us up to date on what are the things that Dash is already doing with the other bus systems, because I know you meet periodically with them. And I don't know if we're there on procurement yet, but.
Yeah, it's all over the place. I mean, we coordinate with all of our neighbors and peers and COG, MBTC, MBTA on everything ranging from service planning to procurement methods to contracts that we can all use and share. When Stevie, Director of Planning and Scheduling, joins the meeting a little later in this meeting, she'll be able to shed some light on some of the stuff that she works on. She works most directly with a lot of our peers,
Okay.
Ramada, COG, and so on and so forth, on a lot of the stuff that we're coordinating on, particularly service related and planning related. And so we spoke about revisiting the ATV, refreshing that this year. That's something that the first time we did back in 2019, it involved a significant stakeholder group, including stakeholders from throughout within the city, but also amongst our peers as well, Ramada, Arlington, so on and so forth. Because we need to be very well coordinated with our neighbors and the agencies that we interact with. I'm not sure that's answering your question, but we do coordinate all across the board on all different levels. Most recently, we're kind of coming out of the DMV moves efforts, which is now transitioning into a handful of different working groups that different members of our team are now participating on, and they range from shared procurement to performance reporting to training and everything in between. So yeah, that's one of the more recent efforts. I'm not sure, Ms.
Yeah, I guess what I would say is what was interesting in the General Assembly conversations as it related to that bill is people would use kind of very loose and broad framing of like, well, we need better coordination, we need this. And so our response was always like, what is the problem you're trying to solve? Because as Raymond mentioned, we are sitting on all these regional groups and we do coordinate. So if it's you want us meeting and you want us talking, that's it. If the issue is, you had people say, well, it should be a seamless ride from if you're going to DC to Arlington. And I get that, like, you're probably switching multiple systems depending on how far you have to go. But is the answer one system, or is there something else in terms of how we're tracking, how we're, planning schedules, what are we actually trying to get at? In some conversations, they've raised the issue of cost. And so, we tried to talk more about that. I think the way we were able to push back on is give us a real problem to solve. And Alexandria is happy to be at the table for that conversation. But without some specificity, we don't want our residents who have a good service, that they know how it works and that we are constantly working to improve, to be kind of subject to how other people are doing their systems without a better vision of where we're going. I am confident from what I've heard from Senator Sherville, that bill will come up again. So we're probably going to need to use this off time to make a better case than what we were able to do, but it's going to keep coming up.
I didn't track it to the end, the governor signing, but I believe the bill might have morphed into a work group to look at the level of coordination. And during the session, when I talked to Josh about that, he said he was excited about that because it was an opportunity to really lay out all these issues, the points you're making and Ray are making, and get them in writing and give it as a report to the General Assembly so they see what's already going on, and where the level of coordination will lead to, probably common fare boxes for those that collect fares, et cetera. I want to say one other thing about the DAC, and let's see what other questions have. One of the things we did say, we do have a high school member, by the way, who's just doesn't have to be on with us today, but we do have, that's a lead in. And we started a year ago under Nathaniel's leadership to do our work in between these quarterly meetings by subcommittee. So we have 4 subcommittees. We have a membership and recruitment committee, a advocacy and a policy subcommittee, a events and public engagement subcommittee, and perhaps more importantly is the writer experience. And so if you have questions for us, you might think about those 4 areas. That's where we're working. But open to other questions or comments.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question. As you know, we send quite a number of advocacy letters throughout the year. We've kind of got them timed out, but occasionally there'll be certain situations where we'll send them. And one of the things that we often cite is the kind of economic return on investment for every dollar spent. And I think it's $1.60 for every dollar, something like that, based on the study and materials we were given. What is the conversation like amongst the different stakeholders that you're talking to in terms of the return they're seeking to continue to invest and continue to strive towards the Alexandria Transit Vision Plan and other goals that we've set that the DASH has set as objectives?
That's a great question. I don't know if I can answer it specifically in terms of what's the return they're seeking, because I haven't asked that question. But I can tell you where we started to have conversations like this in this budget was, as everyone knows, it was a very tight budget. And one area that we continue to see additional need is in funding for our schools and making sure that they have enough resources. Something that often comes up is, well, why don't we just not make DASH free anymore? Or why don't we cut back on DASH? Like, why do we keep funding that instead of maybe putting it in a different pot. And so a lot of the conversations I found us having this budget cycle was, it doesn't have to be an either or. And like, we all have to understand, Dash is not just like a feel-good service that we have just to, have free buses. It is because of that economic return. And if we're not building our economy, if we're not generating new revenue, if we're not securing a strong transit system, then businesses don't locate here, people don't locate here. All of the things we need to actually generate a tax base to be able to fund for schools, infrastructure, and other services. So I guess I frame it that way because I do think maybe we haven't done as good a job as I think we need to do in conveying to the broader community that it's not an either or. Dash is a part of the system that helps us be able to put together a whole pie to fund many other things that this community wants to be able to do. And I think if we can find ways to talk about that broader message, I think it would change the conversation from it's either we have Dash the way it is or we have other things that we need.
Yeah, I mean, I had a chance to speak on behalf of the DEC at one of the budget sessions. And, I think oftentimes my feel is that those get reductive to just the dollars or just the return. And so I'm just wondering from your perspective, how those conversations go, if they always remain quantitative in that way, or if some of these qualitative points come into the conversation.
I think they do if I look at the full year and the broader conversations we're having, yes. But I think when it gets down to budget and we're very into the dollars and cents, then it does really become, unfortunately, who can make that economic argument? And I think you guys are in a strong, I'm thinking about even now when Councilman Al-Nubi put in the ad related to Dash Line 32. Part of the framing he used was for every dollar we put in Dash, we get money back. And so in a tight budget season, if I'm going to be talking about an investment, I'm talking about an investment because that investment makes money. And I think that's not to say that that's the only good thing about Dash, but in tight resources, that's the strongest argument when you're competing against a lot of other things.
Thank you.
I've got a question. I remember a little earlier in the year, we actually, I think sent a letter to the state legislature that we were encouraging them to pass a bill to provide additional monies for local transit systems and for WMATA. From what I gather, that bill didn't pass, but they indicated that there's some discussion in developing the budget to provide additional money for transit, including Dash. Mayor Gaskin, can you update us a little bit on that, please?
Yeah, it's not gonna be a great update. So, what we have heard is the same thing you've heard, that there should still be hope within the budget. At the same time, we currently still do not have a state budget. They have until, I think it's July 1st. I can get you the exact date. They have time to figure that out, but we don't have a solid budget right now. As we've talked to our delegation, they know, we check in with them probably every single day, that funding for WMATA and funding for transit is our top priority. At the same time, we've started to get things back from them that are like, well, there's a lot of priorities, there's a lot of things happening. So we're not even getting kind of clear numbers as to what they're going to support at this point. I'm hoping that, I think Maryland General Assembly, they signaled some things that they help fix maybe one part of the WMATA challenge. And then next year, I think members of their General Assembly have signed a letter saying that they're committed to ongoing to address some of the other pieces. They've also talked about a stronger commitment to DMV moves. So I'm hoping that maybe as our elected officials see Maryland going first, and DC has said that they're watching and will do what they will do based on what the other two will do, maybe that will put a little momentum that there's something for us. But that's the number one thing we're watching in the budget right now, is what happens with this.
Thank you.
It's Jason.
Jason, thank you. Just want, so being a longstanding member of the board, we've had lots of conversations over the years, and I've recently, so my lines are 103, 104, 30, and 32. I ride Dash 2 to 6 times a day. Passionate Dash rider, that's why I'm here, and that's actually how I learned about the very first DAC meeting, was on the bus. So it's near and dear to my heart, and it's part of what we do. And that's why I appreciate the story that you talked about growing up, is how important it is to be timely and have that quality experience, that safe experience.
So one thing that's, since I am such a frequent rider, is now that DC crime level has dropped in DC, but it's kind of moved some crime our way. We have a lot of vagrancy issues that are starting to show up on 103, 104, especially at the Braddock Metro stop, which is where I go every single day, a couple times a day. And DC or Alexandria police, they're phenomenal. That's all I can say. They're fantastic. But the middle school is right there. I get to ride with middle schoolers sometimes. Sometimes I'm the only adult, and there's the 600 middle schoolers, which are fantastic. And that's where the drivers are amazing. We have amazing drivers. We have amazing police. But what's different than a few years ago before we were fare free is I would have had no problem having as a parent, having my sixth grader jump on the bus and come to Old Town by himself. I have no problem. Absolutely would not do that today. And that's on 103, 104. Surprisingly enough, we're over just the last few months, I don't know, and we've talked about it before here, but I don't think vagrancy is tracked very well. And now that we have, anybody can get on the bus and stay on the bus as long as they want. We have a lot of young children, literally 40, 50 middle schoolers on a bus, no parents, but vagrancy issues. And it's a concern of mine, safety wise, because I see it almost weekly. And so I just want to highlight that. I want to highlight that the police are phenomenal, and they're trying to really stay on top of. There's a lot of parties going on at the Braddock Metro, alcohol, drugs. They clean it out at least once a week, sometimes 3 times a week, between the hours of 4 and 7 p.m. They're doing a fantastic job in cleaning it up. But I think the thing we don't talk about sometimes, we talk about the economics, we talk about free, it's great, but there's a cost to that when it comes to safety and risk. And I just want to highlight that because I think it's something that as a community, we should spend a little bit of time talking about, because it's not always rosy. It's not always great. Sure, I can save $1.20 in fare, but I don't want to put my child at risk. So it's just something I want to highlight.
No, I appreciate you taking the time to share your experience. What I will say is I can't speak to the changes in crime in DC. What I can say is that when there was the federal takeover of DC, and there were a lot of efforts to clear homeless encampments, that for the first time we did see a rise in homelessness within our city, because many people keep, and we have resources and support to be able to provide. One thing that we did prior to the adoption of the budget is I'm really committed that I believe this is a public health and a health issue, and so I don't always want us calling APD. And so we did add a new homeless outreach coordinator. We previously only had one person, and that person was responsible for the entire city, and they only worked 9 to 5. And so this new person, we're probably going to need more than just 2, but this new person is responsible for nights and weekends. And so we have been trying to pair them with also social workers and mental health providers from DCHS, so that it's actually a team of extenders who can go out throughout the community and offer people services, supports, and other resources, because we want to make sure that everyone feels safe and supported. So what I would say is, one, just to be aware that that is something, and you can always send us a note to 311. That helps us be more aware of like where to send our outreach coordinator. It's also helpful to APD because we know they have limited capacity, and so this gives somebody else who's able to take people directly to housing, provide other supports as necessary. And so I think that's really important. I do know where you're talking about on Braddock Road. That is one that we're haven't yet found a really good solution for, but it is one that we are working on and trying to try different approaches to. I think, I think ultimately all of us would agree. We want everyone to be able to have a good experience. I want everyone to feel safe on our buses. And I think the majority of people do, but for there are instances where people don't, we should have deeper conversation, understand what's happening, and figure out both what the city can do. I'm sure kind of what we train our drivers to do, what other things we can connect residents to as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, Bonnie.
Well, I'll say that my husband and I don't drive, and so when we look for a place to live, we always check out where's the nearest bus stop and where does it go. And so I'll say that we have 2 buses that are close to us and use them and appreciate that. I also, though I don't live on that line, I still appreciate the council's inclusion of an increase in line 32 service. That's great. But it strikes me that the service improvements have been important, but very incremental because of the budget. I know you've got lots of things to think about, the school system, paying your staff, which, decent wages, which is really important. And we talked a little bit about funding from the state legislature. Do you see any other ways that we could explore increasing the pot of funding so that we have done these plans, transit plans for Alexandria, and we're several years behind in implementation because of lack of funding. And so that's, I guess, my biggest question. I know some people have talked about a small tax that would go towards transit. I don't know if that's viable. Are there any ideas that you have on how we can increase the pot?
It's a tough one. I don't know that I have a good answer right off the top of my head. What I can say to your point about the tax, something that Councilman Chapman has asked is that be a part of our next work session that we have with Dash. I'm not really sure, we haven't had a long conversation, so I'm not really sure how he's thinking about that or what specific taxes or even what authority we might need to do something like that. But I think that will be a place where that conversation comes up.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wish I had a better one for you.
Well, it
I
was a
feel
hard
like,
question.
and I feel like, one of the things that we do really well is every area I think we could tap for resource. I mean, the grants we are constantly going after as much as possible. I know the federal landscape has changed, and so there aren't the same amount of resources there as we thought of. I feel like every other competitive state pot that's available, we are constantly in the room and trying to compete for that. I think from the council side, one of the things we have to do just overall with our budget, and this is why we're exploring, I don't know if anyone saw the meeting on Tuesday, we're potentially exploring the TIF for the old town, the Potomac River generating site in Old Town North. Like, we have to find, we cannot cut our way out of all of our problems, and we can't piecemeal our way to solutions for every issue. We have to generate revenue some way, and it can't just be tax increases. And so I think exploring, and I mean, even having unlikely stakeholder, like, I support this economic development deal because I know that there could be potential resources for Dash and other investments in our infrastructure. It may not seem perfectly connected, but if those type of big swings that I think are going to help us generate new revenue where we can actually have more long-term conversations instead of just, okay, let's increase this one by 15 minutes and then next year we're gonna do that one by 30 minutes and then 10 years we'll do it. But like, that's not sustainable.
And I'll chime in a little bit on that. One of the initiatives that we've adopted at the staff level within the Dash organization, while we're very fortunate to have a very supportive jurisdiction like the city of Alexandria, one of our initiatives is to try to diversify our funding portfolio. So that way we are not 100% reliant on the city of Alexandria's general fund. So we recently have diversified our approach. We've gone out and pursued funds from the federal government. We've became much more aggressive with pursuing state funds. For the first time, we're using community choice toll dollars to fund a significant part of our services. And we look for constant opportunities like that to diversify our portfolio and find creative ways to advance our service expansions and our service growth.
Thank you. I just want to go back to the Fair Free. I know it's coming up on its 5-year anniversary, and then we just want to celebrate the win as well, and I want to be strategic and think more globally and ahead of the game. I just want to see how DAG or Dashboard can contribute to the ongoing conversation. So what are some narratives or talking points that might be?
Yeah. So one thing I would say is just, I keep mentioning this meeting that we're going to be having with the board. I wonder, I feel like somebody from the DAC should be like, maybe it should be like a joint meeting with all these different groups, or at least have some representatives from the chair and vice chair in that meeting. So I'll follow up with Josh on that, because I think that's important for you guys to be a part of that conversation as well. I'd say in terms of kind of messages that I think are really important is, I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. When I tell the story about what the bus meant for my life, I don't tell it as just kind of a feel-good story that I want you to feel bad for my mom, or that I want you to feel like I could make it. Like, I hope what you would take away is that our ability to have a reliable bus was an economic lifeline like, for our family. And in our case, it wasn't fair. Like I remember as a kid being like super embarrassed, like putting bags of change in like a Ziploc bag and having to put everything on there. But like those are the only way we could get around. And I think there's something to be told, and we're doing this celebration of like, what does your dash mean to you? Like, what does that mean? Where are you going? It doesn't have to necessarily just be a job, but like, are you going to visit a friend? Are you going to something else in Alexandria? I think telling the power of what Dash enables us to do as a city to be the people we want to be and to be the community we want to be. Telling more of those stories, I think, will be really helpful because I think there are a lot of people who still have never had a single ride on Dash who don't understand kind of the power of the system that we have and that we're trying to create. And so then there are a lot of narratives about it must not be needed or it's only needed for those people. For lack of a better expression. And I think changing that, this is an opportunity to tell that story of like Dash is for all of us. And this is all the many multitudes of ways we're doing that. And, you know, whether that's social media, videos, I think there's a lot of creative ways that that could be done.
Yeah, but we would love to be on the table with anyone. Like that. Well, I guess the only, I was gonna say, I throw out one other thing I raised during the budget that I do want to work on, and if you guys have initial thoughts. But during the snowstorm from, yeah, I try and block it out of my memory. But during the snowstorm, as you can imagine, there was a lot of different things that we were trying to navigate and take care of. Bus stops being one of them. And trying to figure out how to get our systems up and running. On the one hand, Dash like didn't miss a beat. On the other hand, if you had to go stand out there and catch the bus, there was not always a safe place for you to do that. And the quality of cleanup varied all across different bus stops. I would pass one where it was like completely clear from sidewalk to sidewalk, others where it was literally just like a little hole around the sign. And to me, that's a problem. And so something I proposed during the budget is that I'd like staff to get back to us on what it would take for currently the city's responsible for clearing out those bus stops. In this case, WMATA actually came and helped us. I think they had some additional capacity and that's a partnership we hadn't had in that way before. But what would it look like for Dash to actually be in charge of in an emergency situation doing the quick, I mean, they know our systems better than anyone else, and they know that somebody who rides the bus, they don't just magically appear at the stop. They have to walk there or get there. Like if one part is all iced, but the stop is clear, it doesn't matter because you can't actually get to the stop. And so having some sort of standard and expectation for when we clear these stops, what we're looking for. That then led to the question of, you know, should Dash just be in charge of all the bus stops and not have to wait for the city's queue every time, you know, a problem's reported. And so we are going to revisit that conversation. That's another fall conversation, but I think really thinking through, and I'm sure, I mean, Dash would have to think through whether or not they have the capacity, whether or not this is something they want to take on. But I think for me, it raises a larger question about when people are waiting for Dash, what should that experience be like and who's responsible and who's the best prepared and most capable to do that. So that's another thing you'll hear me talking about. And I don't have a solution. I just think we need to talk about it and figure out where to go.
I'd just like to comment. First of all, thank you for bringing it up. It's an important issue. But I look at the division of labor between Dash and Transportation Environmental Services right now. Transportation Environmental Services, you know, they're the Duke Street in motion. They are going to reconfigure the road. They're also the ones at the sidewalks. They're also the ones who are responsible for submitting the grant applications to get money for bus shelters, as well as money from the general fund, but they do the bus shelters. And so my experience as a DAC member has been that city staff works closely with Dash and says, okay, what are your highest ridership stops? Okay, that's where we'll prioritize the bus shelters. So right now, TNS is responsible for clearing the streets. And I assume part of city staff, Parks and Rec, maybe for you know, access to the parks or whatever, but Dash does a great job operating a bus system. And I'd like them not to focus on other stuff that I think TNS should do. That's my input for it.
Yeah, that's helpful, because I mean, on the contrary, what we're hearing from TEF is they don't have the capacity to do it. So they've got that list, and then it means we can't get to the priorities. So, and maybe that means that there's a different solution. Maybe it's not within TEF and it's not within Dash, but there's some sort of like maintenance solution we need to be thinking about.
I would like to, I love that thought, Madam Mayor, and I appreciate you sharing with this group. I want to extend that thought and prompt this group to provide, part of this group is to provide perspective from the rider perspective. What is your customer experience been like? Has it been working well? Is it getting better? Is it getting worse? Are there things that you're seeing out there that are concerning that we may not be aware of or that we should prioritize? And so on that note, I'll be curious to hear from this group. Is this the right thought of training, right train of thought, the right things that we're focusing on? We have had, various levels of experience through this storm, through past storms, but we also have had various levels of experience through the maintenance and the upkeep of bus stops in between storms year round. And this conversation extends to that as well. So I'm curious to hear from this group, what has been your experience as riders when it comes to our bus stop facilities?
I would say we're indifferent. Who is it the city responsible, Dash or Test? We just want to get to the stop and then get the services.
Yeah.
I think we bring a unique element, this group brings a really unique element to the conversation because we know, I think we're very broadly representative of the routes. I think there's some overlap, but I think we're just overall very broadly covered. I could walk 103, 104. I could give you a list of 5 stops of 20 that's where the most people are almost all the time. That's something I can do that no one else probably knows unless you ride that line. It's simple things like that. And say, hey, you give me a grading sheet, I'd be more than happy to take the dog for a walk and also fill it out. Versus you having to pay somebody to come and rate the same thing. Like, I think that's the power of this group is we live in the community and we do that. So I just want to put that out there as an idea. I don't think when it comes to clearing spots, I think the advice, the recommendations should come from Dash because they know their customers best and their customers know what needs to be cleared out best. So I think that's part of the conversation. Maybe not the responsibility.
No, but it's really helpful because, maybe one thing that if we reflect back on the storm where this group could be real helpful on is like, as you're getting to the stop, kind of what is most important about that experience? Because if we are, I imagine we clear a very small piece because it allows us to move faster. And the more stops we can get cleared, the faster we can get service back to the way we want it. Now, taking longer to also do sidewalks and other routes means we're not going to get to as many stops as possible. But what's more important? Is it more important to have the stop that you always use or to have the routes that are also part of that? And I think this group would be really helpful on like, here's how we're thinking about this. And here's what we most want to see whoever's doing, to your point, whoever's doing the clearing. Here's the standard that is expected from a rider. And that could be really helpful.
Any thoughts from online? Not to put you all on the spot, but also kind of.
So my team manages customer service as well. And what we've noticed is that obviously the rider experience starts when you're walking to the bus stop. So it's not like once I get to the bus, that's when my rider experience starts. So we do get a lot of comments or complaints from bus stops. And unfortunately, we just redirect them to the city. So we're not able to provide a lot of feedback or kind of closing the loop into those complaints or tasks. So being able to have a better integration or at the end, if that's something that Dash takes on, I do think is something that is going to improve, or at least we have more control of that rider experience from the beginning. Thank you.
Question. So clearing the snow, this was a really unusual year of back-to-back snowstorms, right?
Mhm.
I'm completely ignorant about how that cleanup gets funded. I had heard rumor maybe there was some emergency funding for clearing roads and that kind of thing. My street got cleared 3 times in the same day. I'm wondering if there's maybe a potential to coordinate and redirect some of that towards, the sidewalks, right? And the other thought is, in our neighborhood, I think it's that way across the whole city. You're responsible for clearing the sidewalk in front of your residents, right? Maybe putting a more emphasis on that for homeowners. I recognize there's a lot of people that just can't go out and do it, right? But if there's more of an emphasis put on the community to do it, I mean, I get my kids out there clearing our neighbors' walk, right? I would imagine a good percentage could get done just by people being neighborly. If maybe there was a more of an emphasis put on, hey, this is your responsibility and it needs to get done within X amount of hours, right? So might be part of the solution, right? Just kind of amping up the, hey, don't forget, residents, this is your responsibility, right?
I mean, the storm came with a lot of lessons learned. To your first point about funding, so we did declare a local state of emergency. We were able to do that after the state declared an emergency. We did that so that should any state and federal funding become available, we are now eligible for that. That's still being debated as to whether or not we will get resources for that.
Okay.
What we did use though was essentially our rainy day fund. So we budget about $1 million something for snow removal every year, and that's usually pretty fine. In this case, because this was over a 2-week response, it came to a total of about $9 million. And so we pulled from that fund in order to do that. In terms of feedback we got, one of the biggest pieces of feedback was that the pedestrian experience was horrible, no matter where you were in the city. And that a lot of times what would happen is as the plow kept going across, if you had done your sidewalk, it was coming next, and so it became an issue. So at the time, I thought the best decision was we do have an ordinance that says you're supposed to get out and within 48 hours after the snowfall, your sidewalk should be clear. Given how many complaints we got about the snow being put back on, I said we should suspend enforcement because I didn't think it was right that we should be fining you. But the problem is once we did that, then it was very hard to get people back to do their sidewalks again. So that is something we did direct staff to help us think through. Does the ordinance still make sense? And if it does, then what is our criteria for when we suspend or not suspend? And maybe we just need to always kind of have the same expectation so people just get used to that, or there's a way that you can report. So like if the city messed up, we'll do it. But like it became to the point where some people, I think for weeks, just didn't even go out and touch that snow. And then at that point, enforcement wasn't really as effective as a mechanism.
Yeah, on the corners, it's like the worst with the snow plow. And I wonder, like I talk to friends, coworkers that live other places, right? That are a little more used to that kind of snow. And they collect the snow differently. They kind of plow it in the middle and then come and scoop it up, right? But there's probably, and I'm sure you're already looking at it after this learning experience, right? If we get that 100-year storm again, right? How do we plan to clear it, right?
I mean, I hope we never get that again, but I'm happy to share with the group. We actually did for the first time a written after action report because I wanted our community to know everything we tried and everything that worked and everything that didn't work. So we do have that documented. In terms of what would be interesting to this group, I already talked about like your bus stops, but another one was most ACPS bus stops are in neighborhoods. So if folks are not cleaning their sidewalks, then those bus stops are not getting touched as well. Additionally, we learned in the storm that we actually didn't have an easy list of every ACPS bus stop. They keep that, but the city that's doing the clearing and other things, we don't have that. And so moving forward, we need to upload all those stops so we could use like GIS or some sort of mapping to understand when we're out there, because ACPS then couldn't open schools as fast as possible because they can't safely send kids out there to walk if the sidewalks aren't clear. So it is a learning for us on like, we know where kids catch the bus. We know where these things are happening. We know if our team is out there. And this goes back to if a dash bus stops here and a school bus stops here, and it's a city staff person who's doing it, could the city staff person do both? So I think those are some of the planning we're trying to do in the future, that even if it's not 100-year storm, but it is one that shuts us down, what's the fastest model to get every part of the system clear?
I know we're not intending to solve all the snow problems, but to Doug's earlier point about community removal, I see there's a couple of programs where people sign up to literally be responsible for their neighbors in snow removal, and
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
yeah, there is, and
Snow buddies.
snow buddies.
Nobody's.
Yes.
And so I just wonder if, I think it's I think it's a excellent program and one that probably costs very little investment to get more people interested in doing it. So I mean, I think we have at least one person on our block who has a buddy. What's that?
Adopt a bus station.
Yeah, it's kind of a
If
similar.
you're already out there, go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
that's good.
it's just a thought, and I don't know if it would go to Dash or if it would go to the city. But just a thought.
No, that's great.
I mean, most snowstorms are not like this, you know, this is the first snowstorm I've ever cleared out with a hammer, so. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I think it's a misnomer referring to it as a snowstorm. I mean,
Yeah.
for those of us who were out there for pickaxes,
Yep.
it was a nice one.
Why do people have that many pickaxes now? I didn't know. I felt so left out. I'm like, we don't have.
We definitely didn't have one.
I saw like 40
I
pickaxes.
was out with the claw side of a regular size hammer.
Good on you.
Casey, did you go buy a pickaxe?
No, I was in awe. I borrowed it. That's because I knew everybody had one. Just let me.
I just remember my, so I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and my husband's like, I'm going out to shovel snow. And after like an hour, I was like, what is he doing? Because everyone, like inside, people are losing their minds. And I was like, he's just avoiding, I gotta go out here. I like opened the door ready to be like, Greg. And I was like, oh, like he hasn't gotten very far at all. I'm just gonna shut the door. I don't want to do that. Me and the kids are gonna go back to the chaos in here.
It was terrible. I'm from Minnesota and I am used to shoveling snow. And I mean, you just couldn't do anything with it. And then the snowplow came along and plowed us in again and we left. We were gone.
Yeah, it's rough.
Thank goodness. And then we hired somebody to take care of it when we were gone.
No, I get it. Well, I mean, I don't mean to drill, but I will just say, please stay tuned for that conversation. Other things that have come up is, I know on the COG, one of the things Ramada mentioned was that they are deploying technology differently. So, you know, they have cameras and everything already on, the metro system, but during the storm, they also had cameras and stuff on their buses in the front to help report data back to say, like, these are the road conditions. We don't currently have, you know, sensors like that to be able to come into like a central command and tell us, which could have been a missed opportunity because Dash was already running. And so having something out there that's then reporting back to the folks who are going out with the plows, like, so I think there's just a lot of things that, you know, unfortunately in crisis, you learn about different opportunities, whether that means from bus stop clearance to maintenance, to coordination, to technology. I think it's going to be just an ongoing conversation about what does the region need. The other thing that I know we've been talking about in the COG is currently our snow responses are based on get routes towards DC clear as fast as possible, because the focus has always been get the federal government up and running as fast as possible. As people work differently and have hybrid schedules, but also as we've seen a lot of the federal government jobs cut, like what does that mean for the regional response and the prioritization of routes? And how does that impact us? But I also know I'm not supposed to take up your whole meeting. I know you have a lot of other business, but I would just say I'm excited to keep having these conversations with you. I thank you for being a part of this and sharing your perspective with us. You can always reach out to me anytime. I will follow up about having the DAC in our work session. The goal, like I said, it's fall, but the goal is to have it prior to our budget retreat so that we're having these conversations at a time when they make sense. And then what we're learning here, we can take into the budget and into those larger conversations.
I just wanted to make I wanted to thank you, Mayor Gaskins, for coming, and I wanted to share one other piece of just commentary. I think the Dash staff has been extremely dedicated in my time as chair and before that as a regular member, standard member. You know, I think Raymond he's been making an extra special investment in our time. Josh, I mean, Camilla is meeting with me. It feels like every other week we're meeting along with Caleb. So they really are dedicated. You know, I can feel and see the value of the Dash out on the street, but this attention and this ability to continue to seek continuous improvement and kind of it's baked into the fabric of the organization or sewn into the fabric of the organization. I don't guess you don't bake fabrics. But
Yeah.
but I do think that it goes without saying oftentimes, and I just want to make sure that it's said aloud because many of them are in the room and should be recognized for their dedicated service.
I thank you for saying that. And one of the things I said to Josh, I'm sure you all know, we had a very interesting conversation with ACPS about just, opportunities for collaboration. And one of the things I always appreciate about Dash and the staff, when you start with a new idea, some people freeze immediately and they don't want to explore any type of possibility. Other people, they may not know where you're headed, but they're willing to be curious enough to see what might be possible. And I feel like our Dash staff, no matter what we threw at them in every single conversation, you brought a curiosity and openness and a creativity to explore with us. And to me, like, that is what I believe government should be. That's why I do this work. And I think Dash exemplifies that. So I thank you for lifting it up. And I hope you know that the council knows how much we see it. And that's why I think we're probably reaching out to you guys way too much and adding too much to your plate. But it's nice to have a partner that you can imagine what's possible, but also put in the work to execute and actually deliver on those things.
Brendan, I had a question for you. Mayor Gaskins had mentioned the sensor system on the metro buses.
Mhm.
I believe I saw it on a dash bus that there's a sensor that tells when it's safe around the bus for the driver to proceed. Is that only like a proximity sensor or is that not dash?
I thought that was a prototype, but go ahead.
Yeah, we had a pilot of that technology on a specific set of our buses, maybe about a dozen, maybe 20 buses or so. It's an optical sensor that helps with pedestrian awareness. So when pedestrians fall into blind spots of the buses, our operators are trained to know how to look for them when they're in hidden areas, but this technology was designed to help augment that and provide proactive feedback and proactive warnings. It ended up being mixed success, so it ended up being only being limited to those 20 buses, and I believe that's what you're referring to.
Okay, and that doesn't have any kind of report home about other driving conditions? Like back to,
No, it's primarily intended to be used as a localized on the spot safety assistance for the driver.
okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Another pilot. Do we need a group photo with the mayor?
I think that would be a good idea.
Sure, yeah.
Are you staying for the remainder of the meeting or are you?
No, I have to head out.
Okay,
I
okay.
think I got one more thing tonight.
Well, thanks for coming, being grilled here.
This is a fun grilling. This was like really.
Well, there's no food. That's really
Where would you like to take?
You're okay taking.
Oh, yes.
She'd do it in front of that bus and then door. It's just honestly.
Oh,
Here, or
Hey.
do we want to go
Okay,
out
where should I be?
here in the hallway?
I think the hallway might have a little bit more room.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be good.
Leave it to the professional.
Although the pictures aren't on the wall right now, but it'll still be a good backdrop.
It'll be a picture to add to the wall.
Well, I couldn't leave the virtual people alone.
Oh, well,
that's-
we don't mind.
Well, we'll need to Photoshop all the online folks in.
We'll just take a picture and then just like.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for that feedback and questions for the mayor. Next, it would be subcommittee reports. So we'll start with.
Before we proceed, I know I was late. I'd love to just give my opening remarks now, if I may. Is that okay? I take a few notes here. You know, I want to just express that I think that so much has happened since our last session. You know, spring is here. Last time our meeting was cold. It was virtual. We have a new council member officially here. We have council approved budget, as Mayor Gaskin said. And, you know, I've been reflecting on a number of things. It's been 4 quarters since I've been the chair, 4th meeting, I guess, that I'm managing the meeting as chair. We've had 2 quarters of subcommittees. And, you know, I still think that we have a vision of really enhancing the lives of our fellow Alexandrians through public transit and the feedback that we can provide to the dentist to enable that. And so I'm really energized. I'm really excited. And I've been honestly just pumped to see the way that everyone's kind of stepped up and been interested in being more involved and lending their voice to the different opportunities. You know, as we look forward, I want to continue to invite everyone to just think differently. You know, my whole kind of vibe for how the DAC should work is we should take what interests you, what you're passionate about in public transit and really amplify that. And some things are very natural fits, other things we've had to fit back into the right shape and the right bounds, but I think we should continue to think of the ideas and the ways that we can deliver that. And I invite all of you to, you know, to push what we do here. And as long as it aligns with enhancing the lives of our fellow Alexandrians through transit, you know, I think we're at least in the right heart, right mind to do that. So I just want to thank everyone again for being part of the deck. I think we had a few folks officially renew their membership. Is that true? But if not, we had certainly a few people join, and we'll give some more updates on membership as we get to that subcommittee. But that's the extent of my remarks. So thank you all.
Yeah. And that's a great transition because for subcommittee readouts, membership and recruitment goes first.
All right, so that's great. Doug, you will get a moment in just a minute to introduce yourself formally, maybe get a little bit of background. I think Marcos was intending to give me readout, but I do believe I have all of the at least mental notes to walk us through this. We were fortunate since our Q1 meeting to interview 3 candidates. All 3 were excellent candidates. At the time, we only had 1 available seat. So we did proceed to complete all 3 of those, and we were fortunate to have Doug Stevenson accept his nomination for membership here. 2 additional candidates were interviewed. 1 has been deferred for future participation. We have 1 that we're trying to keep warm, another excellent candidate that we want to continue to see if we can stay connected to, and if an opportunity appears for membership, that we would call back. So I would invite Doug to please do a quick introduction. I'll have a small further update, and Peyton, I'll keep, and Jimmy, please keep me honest and add anything after Doug's remarks.
Sure. So, hey, thank you for inviting me to join the committee. Definitely an honor, especially after hearing you had other candidates that you selected me over. I didn't know that was the case. So I feel more pressure to really contribute. Just so you know, my background, I've lived here since 2004 in the Old Town area. Have 2 children, both teenagers, both right in the system. And, you know, you brought up a great point, right? I mean, I probably didn't convey this during the interview process, but one of the large battles in our family is safety of sending our children out in the system, right? And I'm very pro, my wife is very concerned. And so it's a good point, Jason, right, that you brought up. My background, I started in the military, 9 years in the Navy as a mechanic. Got a mechanical engineering degree, was a design engineer for a while, and then went into consulting up here in this region in 2004 and focused, believe it or not, on transit. So not in the capacity that you all are doing. And so it's very interesting for me to hear more from the community side. My realm is really more along the maintenance side, maintenance and engineering, right? And spent a lot of time, the buildings right across, right there, for Washington Metro with their rail and track services, and still do today. So again, thank you for allowing me to join the committee and looking forward to serving. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Doug. Besides that, we've had, I think, 2 meetings. They were predominantly focused on the candidacy of our new members, but we're continuing to take the recommendations of the DAC related to the representation of the committee. We're continuing to look at 3 particular priorities. One is representation from our high school population. 2, those who have either direct experience or close experience with the ADA community. And the third being just a wide array of bus routes and balancing that as much as possible. So we have talked about that. We're looking at strategies. The DASH professional staff has given us some ideas about how to give some more representation. And one of the things that we're hoping to do is team with the public engagement subcommittee in terms of providing some materials about who the DAC is and be engaged at some of the locations where we can find those types of riders. Peyton, Jimmy, anything else you would add in terms of updates from the subcommittee?
Nothing from me.
Yeah, I agree, Nathaniel. Good job in the Marcos's absence.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So I think that is the extent of our full update on the subcommittee.
I think it'll be a great report. Can I ask a question?
Yes, of
Yeah.
course. I'll question.
Do we have anybody on Dash representing or lives in the area of Dash Line 35? It is the, highest ridership by far. It is, and its frequency is largely dependent on the NBTC, which would come up again here, I think in the next year, the application for that, it's every 2 years. So within the routes that you're trying to fill, that's a hard part of the city to recruit in, I think. And so I think it might take a special effort to get Line 35 riders to even know about the DAC. So the question, if we have anybody, and if not, could that be a targeted effort? No, it's not just prioritizing during the selection.
35 runs right in front of my building.
Okay.
So I'm always advocating for the 35.
All right, great.
30 and 35.
So we're done, yeah. Bring that check. It is the highest ridership.
Do we want to think about an exit interview for the commissioners that served, like DAC committee members, that roll out of the committee?
I mean, I think that's a great idea. I'm taking a note here about that. And one of the things that I think all the professional staff is aware of, but I don't know it's been circulated strongly enough, is that all of these recommendations that we get go into the record experience piece. So we try to, although we haven't had that much connectivity with the other subcommittees yet, reconnect them. Most of the feedback really is for the DASH service itself, but some of it is for some of the DAC as a whole, as well as some of the subcommittees. But it's a good idea. Yeah, thank you. Any other questions for this subcommittee?
I did have a question. Go ahead, the person online, go ahead.
Been an accident.
Okay, I thought I heard somebody. So the people who joined in April of 2021, I know we revised our bylaws. When does our term expire?
So all members that were appointed in the first year, we've automatically extended all of those until the end of this calendar year, since it wouldn't be fair to start a year with the new bylaws. So they've all been retroactively extended. So the end will be this calendar year.
The end, so December of 2026.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we probably should do is add a slide for just like membership status into the deck and into this subcommittee section if we can.
I know there's more at the table. That means you'll have 4 vacancies in January, if I understand Caleb correctly.
My understanding was that it was less than that, but that may be right.
I actually have a status sheet. I can check real quick.
What? That, Jason, Bonnie and I
Yeah.
all started April 21. So April 26 is our 5-year point.
Yeah, my understanding was this next year, but that could be.
Yeah, I may be misspeaking. I can check.
But does it make sense to have some sort of an alternative role, like a volunteer or like a emeritus status or like a observer status? That we could still, be on the table, but not as a official.
Not as a voting member
I
or
think
something. Not that we take that.
That was my reading of it.
Yeah, I think that would be, I'm in favor of an emeritus, especially for advocacy letters. I think that's a very,
We're the OGs, right?
I'm in favor of an emeritus status. But I think that we would have to change the bylaws to allow it. So that will be something we'll have to talk with professional staff and with Josh.
So as of right now, the information that I have Jason Kunick, yours is technically the first. It's, our records showed, February of 2020 as the first member. So yours ends, December of this year, your term, and then, Nathaniel was correct. So all emeritus have been extended to 2027, December.
Oh, okay.
So that includes Jim Maslanka, Eric Van Horn, Bonnie, Yvette, and Jim Durham. That's 5 members, correct?
Yeah, I think on the emeritus status, it's a good idea. Any other comment for the subcommittee? All right.
One thing I'm curious about is coordination. You mentioned getting more high school involvement, and I know we had a great discussion, I think, with one of our council members with our high school representative. I guess I'm curious between our engagement committee and the membership committee, like how we are staffing and making the most of, I saw in the planning events, we've got the upcoming, I think there's the ACHS transition event, but I think there's some others in there where it might be relevant. I guess curious how I could just get involved in that and be able to help with that, but also what kind of coordination there is between the subcommittee and then the public engagement subcommittee when it comes to that. Just
Yeah, I would say it's very loose. This is our end of our second quarter for that.
Yeah.
So I think the kind of the incredible opportunities, if you don't see it, build it, so I am on the membership committee, of course. And, one thing that I don't think we've explained is how we typically do this in terms of the membership. The subcommittee usually tries to have at least two people interview all candidates. And then as we have that completed, we'll make a recommendation to Jim as the vice chair and myself if I wasn't present. And if we have approval there, we take it to the DASH staff for final approval and clearance. So we usually take it to Caleb. Well, we usually send it to Josh with the rest of the team copied. That's how it goes.
I heard a different question, but that everybody knows I'm hearing challenge. The Events and Public Engagement Subcommittee has both Peyton and Jimmy Palmer. We're on the membership committee. And so I think there's this issue of, are we using all our event participation to advertise who the DAC is and recruit at the events?
Yeah, I think that is a key opportunity.
And then you have 2 members who are, so maybe Peyton and Jimmy, or you want to, if they're not going to be able to cover an event, maybe somebody else from membership recruitment could specifically be there to try and.
Yeah, I don't want to put Peyton on the spot, but I think Peyton has been particularly vocal about expressing opportunities for the membership committee to participate in public engagement and in DASH events. Peyton, I don't know if you want to comment on that further, but I do think that that's been a strong part of that and is a, I mean, honestly, I didn't even recognize that until you pointed it out.
Yeah, so something that I think is very beneficial to us is having DAC representation at these Dash events. Sometimes it's just being there at the table supporting. Potentially in the future, it could be an opportunity for DAC to have their own specific table. I know that there have been conversations about having pamphlets or flyers or informational items about DAC. Something that I have thought of, and I guess this goes into play when it comes to people who are rolling off at the end of this year. Then also currently we are reaching capacity with our committee, is how do we encourage and let people know about DAC while also making sure that they're aware that currently it is either at capacity or applications will be open or accepted at specific dates or times.
So I think we can move to the advocacy and public policy
Yeah.
subcommittee updates.
Okay, I'll try and keep it short. First slide, please. The only thing,
Oh, did you want to
yeah,
sit on this?
this is the only place where the members are listed, so I wanted to make sure people had a chance to realize that we have expanded the membership of Brendan and Peyton that have joined the rest of the group that have been active. That's all on this slide. Thanks. This slide is the same as last month, or excuse me, last quarter, except for when the next meeting is. So again, I just wanted to, since we don't meet that often, have it in the package to remind you what our objective was. That's generally to engage local and state officials about the need for higher frequency service. That's fine. Basically,
You have a question? Sorry, yeah, the next meeting, is there anything helpful that we as staff can bring to that meeting?
I think I don't have an agenda for that yet, so I think, right, let me get to next steps. Yes, next steps, I'll come back to that. Thanks. Right. So, yeah, we continued city budget advocacy. So I think we only met as a subcommittee once because we had 2 or 3 different meetings where we had subcommittee members to try and join with city council members. You heard the results from that advocacy, although we did, Jason pitched the funding for line 103 and 104 too. We think that's important, and that's what was in our letter. Again, for new members, we typically do a DAC letter in the fall to the city manager for Dash funding, and then once he's released his budget, try and support something in with the city council to actually add to that, and we coordinate that with the staff, get staff review of our letters in advance. And so, yeah, in terms of where they found the money, Ramada needed a little less, and so the addition was based on was contingent on that being available. State legislation, Mayor pretty much addressed it. We supported a letter for House and Senate. Those specific bills failed. I'll give you a little bit more detail. There's a Senate bill and a House bill, and the Senate and the House have to come together and figure out their differences. One of the big differences is that the Senate bill would eliminate a tax on data centers, and that would generate, I would say, $1 billion or so a year, some of which would be allocated to WMATA and local bus systems, but the House has none of that. So, status isn't there free, so we don't know what'll happen, but they're actively engaged. If there is an additional revenue source, such as taxing data centers, the transit will be one of the recipients of that money. And then the last thing is largely because I knew all the players. We had some interest in the committee. We initiated discussion with DNES, ACPS, Dash, both Caleb and Ray, I think, joined that call. Next slide. We'll send a thank you note to the city council. We need to schedule a meeting to follow up, and Ray, this really gets the issue of, I think it'll depend where we are on the ACPS. I think before May 28th, we'll try and have a meeting. I think we had targeted a mid to second half of May to get representatives from city staff, ACPS, Dash and our DAC subcommittee together. The issue is how can we improve transit education? The result of the last meeting or the additional meeting was that ACPS was going to develop their ideas for draft curriculum. And if there was an opportunity that they thought videos would help in that, and we do think there are, then there'll be a question of how we get some videos and maybe high school students doing it or something. But it was good discussion to get everybody at least on the table. That's all we have. Right, I don't have any more detail on what we discussed in May. I don't know where we'll be on the state budget. I don't know that we can impact that. The city budget is what it is. So I think the only active thing that the advocacy policy meeting will be working will be the ACPS issue.
Okay.
Unless the members have some others. Unless any that member wants the advocacy policy group to be working on something else over the summer.
I'm curious and let us know, would it be helpful if we bring, so our it's a fantastic team, this marketing and our public outreach team, they have a work plan of public outreach events and initiatives with different partners throughout the city, ACPS included. Would it be helpful for us to give somewhat of a presentation of what we got planned throughout the year and kind of see how this effort?
That would
fits
be
into
great,
that?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Question on funding. The mayor mentioned grant applications. I know a lot of the work that I do is for transit properties across the country that secure funding through grants. There's hundreds of millions of dollars available to transits through grants. You just have to submit a winning application, right? First step is to identify which ones apply. I don't know how much Dash participates in that process right now, but it might be something to see if there's a low hanging fruit that.
We can put that on the agenda for the May policy meeting if you want. If you want a discussion to have Doug present, at least an overview of where the opportunities are and Dash share. And a lot of these are city though, right? City applications. I mean, like the transit rider incentive program.
We take split initiatives. Sometimes we each pursue grant opportunities. It's not mutual. It's not either us or them. It could be both of us. We each are unique entities, so we can pursue whatever grant opportunities out there. I would say I would recommend for us to have an effective approach on this, perhaps in the May meeting for us to provide an overview of what exactly is our outreach plan.
Let's start with that.
Use that as a framework, identify what are the missing gaps, what are things we want to do, we can't do, we cannot do, we would love to do, and kind of see what the gaps are. And then from there, we can figure out what are the ways we can, what things we can do to pursue those gaps. Pursue to close those gaps.
Okay. There are no other questions? On to next subject.
Yeah, great update, and thanks for having me speak to the council level.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Appreciate that.
the additional letters, Nathaniel spoke at and I think that was impactful. When we had follow-up meetings with council members, they made reference back to your remarks. Made an impact. Thank you.
Yeah, please tag me anytime for that.
Any last questions from online, or if not, we can go to the next subcommittee? All right. So up next, we have events and public engagement.
All right. Hi, everyone. Just wanted to say it's nice to see you all virtually. I wish I was there in person. Currently, I am overseas. It is almost 1 a.m. for me, so please forgive me for not having my camera on right now. So for the next 3 slides, we're highlighting 3 events that subcommittee members had participated in. Before that, I just wanted to say that if there are any feedback or comments that we should make or talk about right now when it comes to how we really provide information about DAC to the greater Alexandria community, I'd be happy to hear your thoughts on this. I think it's important where we have these conversations about DAC being present at Dash related events. That's a great opportunity for us to have flyers or little handouts, but also what could we be doing with the greater community, especially when we look for line representation or other representation across the greater community, and what we can be doing to be proactive instead of reactive when it comes to just waiting for applications to come in. Does anyone have any comments about that or other thoughts? Happy to also take this offline as we go through the summer and maybe collaborate with the various subcommittees on this.
I think other members have expressed the key connectivity between this subcommittee and membership, and I think you and Jimmy being overlapping members are keys to that connectivity if you're willing to kind of take up the mantle on that. So not a request that you need to answer now, but something to discuss offline.
Absolutely.
Then that went further. I mean, there's no reason why I couldn't go to an event as the designated person, if I recruit, if you will. I just need a reminder about a month in advance. I mean, I know there's a lot of events and, you know, here in today's presentation, but if the events public engagement subcommittee would say, hey, we don't have anybody from the DAC scheduled, if they could keep track of who's going to which ones and let the entire DAC know, I mean, I'd be happy to go to an event, you know, once in a while, on table or whatever. But I need to get it on my schedule.
Just wanted to briefly say thank you, Peyton. I think you actually sent around a list of events probably a month or so back, and that was really helpful. And, you know, so thank you for that.
Yeah, continuing to do that. It's good.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. Great. All right. Well, if we could go to the next slide, please. So the first event that I wanted to highlight was the Alexandria Dog Walk that was a few weeks ago. Fortunately, I was able to attend. You can see the unofficial Dash mascot, which is Zen. That's Caleb's dog, very cute. It was a really, really great time. So what the Alexandria Dog Walk is, it's a nonprofit to really engage people through educational messaging and initiatives about the importance of living an eco-friendly and sustainable lifestyle. This was a really great event. I'm not sure if anyone else has attended before. It was my first time. I was there just supporting and being at the table with Dash staff. When you see to the right-hand side, the Old Town Alexandria map, public transportation options, that was actually on the website. So I think that's really important twofold. One, it's really important for Dash to be very present for a lot of sustainability and eco-friendly related events in Alexandria. Public transportation is a very important aspect of sustainability. So I think that that's great that Dash is being represented in that capacity. And also that when we have events in Alexandria, that the event organizers are really encouraging people to take public transportation and giving them an option to do so. So I'm sure that Dash has been involved in a lot of these events before. I'm not sure to what capacity Dash has to encourage events to provide information on public transportation, but I think that's really great that we had that and to continue to support that. We can go to the next slide, please. All right, and the other event that I had went to was the CTAB Virginia State Rodeo. So Dash had rodeo last year in the fall. This was the next rodeo for the BOC, which is the body on chassis buses and vans, and then also the 35-foot buses. So we had 3 bus operators from Dash competing in the 35-foot bus rodeo. And luckily I was able to volunteer as a judge for this event. It was a really, really great opportunity and time to support our community, to support our Dash operators, but then also just to support the overall Virginia bus transportation organization. I am not sure who won. Caleb, do you know who won first, second, and third?
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the process of getting that information out as soon as possible, but yeah, we received the scores back, and for the award ceremony, that's the picture on the bottom right is our team with their trophies.
Perfect, awesome. We
And
really
I'd like to-
represented well.
I'd like to share, so the number one winner is a longtime, very good competitor. His name is Lionel Glover. He has been a historic champ of winning rodeos for us. Him winning first place of this rodeo means he's sent as the state representative for all of Virginia to represent Virginia in the national rodeo, which takes place in Nebraska.
Yeah.
Next week or 2 weeks from now.
No, he is the true OG.
Oh, yes.
And I've been, done a few of the scorecards on his rodeo and
Mhm.
it's impressive. It's impressive. Honestly, it's impressive.
And the last time he went to compete at the national rodeo, he took first place of national. So fingers crossed.
Tough act to
Right.
follow.
He has a hat and everything.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's really great to hear. And I think that that just proves just how community oriented Dash is and important our Dash operators are. The fact that we are able to recognize our own bus operators and support them. It was really great. I saw a lot of families of the bus operators there. Just overall a really great community effort for this event. So I wanted to highlight that. And we can go to the last slide. And we had Dash staff and some other subcommittee members attend this event. So I am going to let them speak about this.
Yes, I did. Oh, yeah, look at the photo. Yes, that was from 2 days ago from the baseball game. We also had a Monday night softball game. I think Dash was tabling and representing. So yeah, it was just good old fun, watching all of the high school kids wearing Dash colored, swags. And then the announcer 2 days ago was also, broadcasting a lot of the Dash news and highlights. So it was really cute. Was Jimmy there 2 days ago?
Jimmy was in the baseball.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to coach. I just stopped by really quick. I was coaching at the baseball game, but it was quite funny. Caleb and Camilla, I think you guys probably handed the announcer, all the facts, and that game went the game went nearly till 11 p.m. We played 9 innings instead of 7, and they had dash facts for every half inning. So I really appreciate your your work. It was very funny on like a tied game and extra innings that we're like, did you know Dash drives 3 million miles a year? And I was people are like, yeah. So it was awesome. Thanks.
Start over again because repetition is what matters, and that's how you remember that 3 million number. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
And for both games, the first pitch was a Dash staff that was able to do that.
Where was it?
So the softball game was
right around the corner
Right.
at Witter Field.
like next to Court County.
The baseball game was near Court.
Oh,
County.
yes.
And the softball game was right around the corner on the other side of the test building at Witter Field.
And the baseball game was where?
At the Frank Mann Field on the other side of Cora Kelly.
Okay, thanks.
So I think we can go to the last subcommittee update.
Yep, last subcommittee, we have, thank you, Peyton. Last subcommittee, we have writer experience. Any representative would like to take this one?
Well, since yeah.
I'll take it. So the writer experience subcommittee met just one time. Actually, it was supported by the Dash professional staff. And I think we had reviewed some proposals related to bus stop signs. They were looking for feedback and we did provide some feedback about that. At the conclusion of that discussion, we had recommended that was actually in fact a conversation that warranted discussion at the broader DAC level. So they did collect the feedback during the writer experience meeting. But I think we are, with a little luck, going to spend a couple minutes on it and hopefully have a chance to do feedback. So only really one update, but we're planning to get back to some of our other pieces. Only other piece of update here is that we have approximately, I just was looking at it, about 50 pieces of feedback that we've provided since we started the subcommittee to the professional staff. Professional staff has, that was timely. That was very good. Professional staff has closed
a couple dozen of them, so I think we're probably about a third of the way through all of the recommendations. Some of them will take real material time, so therefore some of them have been tabled, others are in active pursuit, and others have been closed, so we're making progress. But I mean, I've taken 15 here, some of them may not make the tracker depending, but I have 15 pieces from just this meeting. We continue to add at every meeting and during the subcommittee meetings as well, so. I don't know if anyone else from the subcommittee, Jason, I think you were on the call as well, or if you want to add anything else?
That was a great summary.
Okay.
It really was.
All right.
Not that I'm not pushing the easy button. But it's nice to see it in real life.
Well, without further ado, you can, if there are no questions, we can go ahead and move on and get that presentation to the broader deck. All right. And without further ado, Stevie Matthews.
Okay. Let's dive into it. I know everyone has limited time. Okay, so we're bringing to you a little conversational piece today. I think it's a fun one because typically signs, this isn't a new one yet, we're just talking about it. Signs are perceived as this like rather static item. And what you've seen already, we've sent out in the packet is we've had a lot of stuff that has changed, some perceptions that maybe we could make some updates that would be an improvement. There are some accessibility options we could make some upgrades to. So we've been kind of playing around with some things in the background. Next one. And we want to make sure we have all of the key elements actually there together. So I'll just put this up here. This is entirely just a mock-up. This was something my team did, not even Camilla's creative team, because they wanted to look at, it's heavier than it looks, but we're just playing around with some of the ideas of what are these elements that need to be on the sign? If we completely changed the look of it, what could that be? And instead of us making this decision, we thought, let's put something together and talk to everyone who uses these signs on their day-to-day basis to get around. What elements are most impactful to you? Is there something missing here? Did we add something new that was exciting? What do we think?
I have an opinion.
Please, that's what we're here for.
No, I love that we have contrasting colors. I love simplicity, don't get me wrong, it's great, it's aesthetic. But I'll tell you, when I really need direction, I gravitate towards, all right, like if I'm at Metro, I'm gonna go to which line, what color, it's gonna grab my attention. I like how you start to change the colors right there, and I can kind of relate with that a little bit better. And I'll tell you, helping out a lot of tourists in this town, you know,
This is the current one. This is.
they're gonna spend a lot of time staring at this and they're still not gonna get it. And I have a hard time explaining sometimes as a local. So I don't know. I like that. I like the the contrasting colors.
Okay, great.
I do, the only spot I see fare free is in this tiny little box that's kind of covered by the holder.
Better like that.
I do wish it were just a part of the.
And this in and of itself is kind of like a separate concept. We're coming up with different ideas of ways to use these. These were kind of gifted to us from so we're like, hey, if we have them, let's use them. Considering putting maps in here to help people navigate the system, how frequently things run, and keeping these a lot more clean for just what do you access at this location.
But I really like the where's my bus, you know, the call to action, text, call, visit. I really like that. It's very clear.
I'd like to highlight something and get this group's reaction and perspective. As you will notice, each of the route numbers are in a different color. And I'm curious to how anyone's, if this has been noticed at all by you guys here or just by the general public. We've been kind of subtly assigning a specific color to our routes. And the last couple of years, we've been ordering buses with color destination signs. And you'll notice that each route is a specific color. What you may or may not have noticed, I definitely took a long time for me to grasp onto this, is that color convention applies to not just the signs, but also the bus stop signs and also the ride guides, I believe.
Yeah.
You may not have noticed that, but I'm just curious, is that something that you guys have noticed as riders? Has it become apparent yet?
Yes.
It's on the new infographic screens, isn't it? Isn't the line the color of the, like, the line that connects the dots is the color of the of this? Is that right? Am I making that up? Because I feel like that line I've noticed being different color, but I'm.
On destinations, and yeah, the line,
Some of them.
yeah, some of them have it.
Anyone who's used the subway in New York, it's been very well green. I mean, you know, everyone knows that the R train in New York is yellow. You see something yellow, you know it's the R train goes down Broadway, right? And I think that's the idea, is we want to get to something that intuitive. I know we're nowhere near as close to it yet, but we're starting to plant seeds of it.
And there is something kind of entertaining about the convention that exists now. So it rolled out with New Dash Network, and the theory was the more frequent a route, the specific color it was. So that's why there are a lot in the blues or in the red scheme, and they kind of all blend together. So we could do better picking different colors to help you understand where you are in the system instead of making them so similar. We have not given that a lot of thought, just that the reds and the blues are a little too similar, and it's hard to distinguish if we're going to use a color to say between the 30 and the 34. This is a little bit of a decent example, but they're still pretty close in color when we have a pretty wide spectrum to pick from. Of course, are on.
Me? Okay.
Yes.
So, I really appreciated the blue on the current signs with the yellow dash. I don't see well. And so, you know, there are no parking signs and other things. And so what helps me identify what's the dash bus stop is that color of blue. So please don't make them white. Don't make them look like other signs, because for people who don't see well, you know, you want something that looks really different than the
Yes.
other signs that are on the street.
And we are working with our, regional friends about their signage and ours, and we're talking dollars here, where they're combining some efforts to make sure that we can share space without confusing riders as to what bus you're waiting for, which one you should be getting on, and making sure that one of the examples we use is we have a new logo. Let's make sure that Dash itself is really represented on here, so you know that's what you're waiting for.
Yeah. And
Those
the,
colors are very key to
the
that.
blue on, or the yellow on blue is actually, people who've done studies about
With
that
contrast.
say that that's a really good contrast.
As opposed to the example up here, which is blue on yet orange or something.
Well, I'm not
Okay.
close enough. I'm not close enough to see that. I'll look at it when we're done.
Yeah, one of the things that you guys might want to think about when you're looking at redesigning the bus stop signs is basically the requirements of the ADA, because you've got certain minimum sizes and certain amounts of contrast, like it has been discussed before. So make sure that like the previous individual was looking at, that you've got a very distinct color and contrast, as well as a size. So unfortunately, when you're cramming a lot of information on these signs, you lose a lot in terms of getting the information to a person who's who finds it very hard to make out what a sign says.
That's an excellent point. It's definitely one of the larger considerations in looking at these contrasts. We even talked about height of the signs so that everything, could still be seen by someone who's not as tall. Yeah. So this particular sticker, it was printed in-house. So white was just the example that we had gone with, but it's not necessarily the be-all end-all decision. Just one iteration of some different types of things we're looking at. But
Okay.
keeping that in mind, that's really good feedback, that the blue and the yellow with the contrast is.
I'd like to ask the group, there's a lot of different elements of information on this side, and I'll outline them. You have the Dash logo, a picture of the Dash bus, the description of where you're located. You have route numbers, route destinations, something about Spanish service, stop ID, and instructions to use that stop ID. if one or two of these elements of information were to be removed, which of them would be, are least impactful or least beneficial to be on the sign?
It's the URL for me. I don't know about other folks, but I find the tracker really helpful, but I don't know too many folks who are typing manual URL into their smartphone these days.
No,
So that bottom visit dash trip.com.
Maybe if you made it
No,
a
the
QR
text.
code.
Yeah, that visit and then the URL there, to me, is the least important thing on the sign.
I like it all. The one thing that I would consider is making that, you got a little statement on the box down below that says, Dash is a fare free service. I mean, definitely in the Old Town area, I would make that big, right? I bet there's probably a lot of people that don't know that, right?
We hear that all the time.
So,
Place that picture of a bus with fare free big, like. right
Yeah.
there.
Doesn't it say fare free on the front of some of the buses?
Yeah.
Yeah, but if somebody doesn't ride the bus today,
Oh,
the
right.
bus isn't
Yeah,
there.
you just
you're
flew
looking at
in
the
from
sign.
Chicago and you've never been here.
Yeah,
You're not gonna,
okay.
you're gonna have to really.
you hear people in Old Town, oh, I'm gonna wait for the trolley, it's free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I'll throw out there, our newest demographic is new, because it's all the younger kids, because it's fare free. So like the middle schoolers, there is a demographic riding more often than used to. And I think, being able to have that designation of saying, hey, stay on the yellow, stay on the blue, that way you'll get to your destination. I think that's really helpful. Every other week on 104, I'm getting at least one ghost bus. That's the bus that's on the tracker that never shows up. So I can't, since January, I've unsuccessfully contacted Where's My Bus like 6 times. I'm 0 for 6. And I had a bunch of frustrated riders the last couple of weeks because no one, even with the Dash representation sitting right across from us, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know. And that's fine. That's fine answer. But I think a very reliable Where's My Bus, whatever we use, whether it's a URL, whether it's a code, I don't care. It just needs to work.
Yeah,
And I think
do a lot of harm.
I had some, because everybody on my line knows that I'm here today. And guess what? Tomorrow, they're gonna be like, hey, how'd that go?
For clarification, did you mean that you used the text number or were you using the customer service call?
I've called 311, I've called the text. I mean, it's just like, there's a bus disappeared. And the thing is if our bus is every 30 minutes, that's hugely impactful. You have 20, 40 kids that are gonna sit there for another 30 minutes and another 20, 40 kids are gonna show up. You have parents looking for those kids, and you have kids, they don't have cell phones because they're not old enough, most of them. And so it creates this whole sequence of events, and so just to have something reliable of like, hey, if it's not gonna be here, when's it gonna be here? And that would make a big difference.
I just wanted to make sure that like the piece of information was that you tried to contact both. I was just making sure I got the right contact method. But if you've done all of it then.
Yeah, and we call, but anyways, I think we could proof test that one a little bit more.
So that brings up the question, I mean, do you get a different answer if you send a text versus going to the URL?
Yes.
Steve, are you able to speak to the status of our real-time tracking?
Not well enough. I know output, I mean, you're gonna get something different. My best input now is that we've recognized that this is a problem and are reallocating some resources to specifically functioning under a technology umbrella to really put more eyes and ears on this to focus to solve this. But the inner workings of it, I have not been here involved enough, so I will let you.
Sure. Yeah, so our technology that provides real-time bus information, we implemented it back in 2015. And quite frankly, it's an end of life. It's been falling apart. It's an end of life. We've been stopping band-aids on it. We're actually, Stevie's team is actually moving forward to seek the replacement of that technology. So we're hopeful that once the project's complete, we'll be able to replace that technology with something modern, reliable, successful, and we'll be able to get the user experience of that to be much better than what it has been.
Jason, tell those bus riders, there's no fix in the next week or month, but
It's
it is a
being worked.
recognized problem.
Yep.
And there is a plan to upgrade the technology
Yes.
that's over 10 years old.
Yes.
But there is an app that works really well.
Transit app?
Yep,
Yes, ma'am. I live by it.
yeah, me too.
But yeah, it's not fun being the one person though.
But why explain to me why the city would need to invest a bunch of money in a new technology when there is already a piece of technology that works pretty well? I mean, this transit app is really pretty good.
The data that is fed into the transit app that tells users like yourselves where dash buses are comes from the technology that we use. And so that's our only saving grace, is that third-party app developers like the transit app are able to take that data and do something successful with it. The native solution that our vendor uses, the tracker app, and I'm not sure what else it's called, and the tracker website, has been it's been a challenge to use. It's not their forte. They don't do it very well, and it's been kind of falling apart. Yes, the transit app works, but there are other reasons beyond the user experience or the reliability of it that's causing us to have to sunset this technology. It's a legacy company. They've gotten really expensive, very unresponsive, and quite frankly are not giving us the attention and support that we need.
Well, in this topic's come up at least 3 or 4 times, and I've got buying. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I think I'm tracking where you're going with this. Then why don't we just go transit?
Right.
I mean, it's pre-existing. I'm not on the IT side. You know way more about it than I do. But on the user side, I've been using it for years. I use it every day because I experiment. I just stand somewhere and say, okay, what's my public transportation options? Oh, that's a wonderful idea. And I do it every single day. And why don't we do, it's already, somebody already did the hard part. I guess.
Yeah.
What prevents us from doing?
You want to take a stab at that, or?
What prevents us from
Using
recommending?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's ever dissuaded anyone from using the transit app. I think what Raymond was talking about is just the piece that we're looking to fulfill. This is just one aspect of what we are looking for in a new vendor. We have a dozen other things that we need a new vendor to provide for us that is.
Oh, so the vendor is the one that provides the data that goes to the other apps. So
That also collects.
Yep,
So the vendor disappears tomorrow, my transit app's no longer gonna work as well.
that's correct.
Correct.
Yeah, if you've ever tried to use Google Translate in any other city, it is fantastic. It is horrible here. Our vendor does not work.
Oh,
well.
yeah, Google, yeah.
Yeah, our vendor does not work well with Google Transit. The real-time tracker on our website that's native on our homepage that we should be proud of, and it's our home ground, barely works.
Yes.
And so it's we're glad that it works well in the transit app. We're fortunate that they're great with developers and they've made a fantastic product and a user experience. But quite frankly, they are picking up the weight of where our vendor is letting us down.
What's the normal lifespan for this type of technology? Because I hear 10 years, and on one hand, I'm like, that seems kind of like a long time. But on the other hand, I'm like, I bet that was pretty expensive. I bet they thought it was lasting a little longer than that.
I want to say it's generation. The business model and the technology model has shifted between then and now. I don't see 10 years being a recurrent lifespan. It happens to be the lifespan now because from 2015 until now, a lot of the vendors went from legacy hardware-based, very old style, to cloud-based, disruptor style, and all this and that. That shift, it's a very contrasting shift, happened in this last 10 years, and it's what's rapidly sunsetting the lifespan of the system that we have in place.
Because I mean, it seems silly, but like you could buy a fleet of iPads with Find My Friends on and put on all those buses and everyone would be pretty happy.
And that's a lot of the stuff that we're working with is proprietary. So we are tied, like we are bound, where we're looking at options now that give us more flexibility to control what's happening in the background.
Yeah, I say that tongue in cheek mostly.
But it is a good point.
So
Like
in
to
terms
make
of
one
time
suggestion.
content,
The stop ID, that should be, well, it's better suited up top. Right at the top of the sign where the bus is.
Okay.
So you can see it clearly.
Mhm.
And then you'd have more real estate at the bottom to put where you can, actually either text or use the dash tracker.
It's good feedback.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I was gonna argue that
sorry, online. I was gonna argue that the stop ID I don't think needs to take up the amount of space that it does because I can use the stop ID, like that's just like a primary key for a database. And if it was like you were telling someone emergency surgery, like if it was like emergency surgery or services, you wouldn't be like 911, I'm at stop ID 4820. You'd probably just say the name of the intersection and then the tracker, like the user interface, the front end for the URL, the dash tracker, you don't even, I don't think you can get to the stop ID unless you click on the title of the stop verbatim. So I'd argue that, you know, the text at the bottom, that exact thing, as long as the stop ID is unique to the stop down there, the 41411 message, that's all good. I don't think you need it up top by the street names. That might be controversial. And then the other thing was instead of the where's my bus, if there was just I guess a QR code next to, you'd have to do it per line to take them to the appropriate, like part of the way that that tracker website is set up. You'd have to, you know, if you could just scan a QR code with your phone next to the 30 Landmark Van Dorn off to the right there, boom, it takes me right to the tracker. The only other frustrating thing about the tracker, which would require some like web redesign, um, is that if it was separated toward eastbound and westbound, so if I scanned a westbound 30 on, you know, if I'm traveling on a westbound route and I scan a stop that is westbound, it will show me only the westbound, you know, buses coming versus the westbound, eastbound, northbound, southbound gets kind of confusing to some people, I think, when they open up the tracker, but that's my only feedback.
Because I don't know if everyone can see this, and I'll turn this around. This piece that we were looking at, because we have to mass print these, right? So if each sign is different, there are some elements we can add in separately, but to print each one individually, costs go up. So that's where we were thinking about using these. And I'll just turn this around real quick because this is what this was. The intention of this square here is that these would all be unique to this spot. So if you had a QR code, it would show you exactly where you were, like here's my location, the lines that would intersect here and like the time information. So it's like one of my feedback was if we put on here the span of service or how frequently it comes, and then anything like that changes, we're printing new signs. So this is kind of a better conduit for that because this is, they unscrew, you put a piece of paper in, we can change this, you know, every 4 months with service if that's what happens. These are kind of the things we want to be almost permanent, longer term, I should say, because it's never going to be permanent. Nothing's always that way. So I'll turn that back around so you can see that. What I was talking about was this space up here that would give you that real-time information for exactly where you're at, but each one could be uniquely different.
So I'd like to do a time check. It's 7:28. I know we have at least 2 more sections on the agenda. Is it how can this group continue to feed any more feedback?
Here real quick, just one more. The next one is feedback. We've already gotten a little bit about this, so we are taking this on. And the next one is we're just trying to compile a lot of what your thoughts are. So we're saying, give it a month, let it roll around in your head and reach out to Caleb.
No, I was gonna say, is there an example of this in real life in Landmark?
This one, no, this is totally unique. This was just our team putting together a visual of something that might be a little different than what we have.
We can send a photo to the group.
Mhm.
That way you have it. We'll send a photo of both signs. And then you're more than welcome to send us any feedback and we'll try and make Steve. Like she said, this is just like the first idea. So there's not a specific deadline that we have to meet to be able to do this. This is something that we're just thinking of changes. And then obviously we can implement some stuff that DAC is proposing with more examples and versions.
Yeah, the fare free idea was one we hadn't really brought up. So I'm really glad that that came from you guys.
We are hearing that the image of the bus can potentially be dropped for fare-free messaging.
And also stop ID shrinking.
Now, may I ask, because I specifically wanted the bus on there, because I know a lot of writers have issues about which bus they're getting on and which ones are fare free. So I thought if we put the image of our bus on there, they knew getting on the blue and yellow bus. That's the one. So there's no conflict at the door. But we can move things around. It doesn't have to be forefront.
I mean, if it were, yeah, with stop IDs, I think that's okay. It's the only time I use stop ID is when I'm doing text, whatever, like text dash bus 400082.
Yeah, so you have it twice because it's in the text dash bus.
But I think to Stevie's point, I don't think those, since these signs are mass produced, I don't think those numbers would be unique to every sign because then that would be individual signs that would be coming out.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's still,
That's what I was.
in the actual ID, it would just be XXX, I think, in the actual sign printing. Is that correct?
I think how,
Certain points of it are, and then we kind of just add stickers of things that are unique.
I was gonna say that's exactly how it is. It's like a label tape over that
And-
spot.
As I'm sure you've seen from a lot of them have gotten stickers and scraped off and new ones. And there's just a lot of elements that have changed that it's time for a refresh, especially with the new branding. So.
Do you need the hours of operation of each line?
I would argue
I would,
that.
I would say,
I think it fits better in here, like for each stop, if it tells you what routes are coming, how frequently and when that first and last bus are is usually the most important piece of that. But I don't want to put it on our signs specifically. I think it belongs on the paper. Because if we find the funding to run late night service, instead of some of these ending at 10 PM, maybe they can go to midnight, 2 AM. I don't want to be out there at every single stop, scraping those off, adding new ones on. Only 6 months later, scrape them off and add them on because we're going a little bit later.
Or funding goes back and then we have to step back and, yeah.
wait a second, that's the grill in the room. All the lines should all have the same times and the same availability. I'll just throw it out there. It's too complicated. Honestly.
Yeah.
I come home from a sporting event, guess what? I have to Uber from the metro. I want to leave my house on the weekend.
I agree with you, but that's like a longer term.
It's longer term, it's a lot more money than signs, I get it. But I think it's to a point though, is it's a little too complicated. It should be a little bit more standardized availability. That's my one nugget since I'll be going out the door this year.
Well, I mean, I would settle for frequency even if the hours weren't all the same.
Especially if you're not from here.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Paul. But I do like, to answer your question, I like having the duration. I think it's fine to be in that box down there. I'm horrible at the app. Anytime I look at my phone, I gotta break my glasses out and I don't like doing that on the corner. I just like it being on the sign.
Well, I think another good example is the trolley. A lot of folks would stand and wait for that before it would even start running. So even to have something that would just say, hey,
Totally.
this isn't available quite yet, you
Yeah.
can take 30, 31. It's also free.
Yeah, it's really disappointing to be out there at 9 AM waiting on an 11 AM probably to come by. It's not ideal, not ideal.
Worth $1.20.
So we did put a date on this, so it's May 20th, 2026. And that's just to kind of keep the gears moving on this and to continue getting some new iterations out. But
Is there an implementation timeline?
This is just very initial beginning steps. We haven't even looked at the scope of how big this would be, where we would start rolling it out, how we're paying for it. It's just, we're recognizing a need and we want to build that case of why we're going to pursue funding.
Yeah, definitely a need.
alrighty, and then we'll quickly run through the marketing and public engagement pieces really quickly.
On the table? Okay. Can you send it back to Eric's cube?
We'll quick.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll quickly run through our pieces. I'll kick this over to Camilla and she will take it from here. Ready?
So I think we've talked about different wraps that we have been doing. So starting this year, we are doing monthly wraps just to recognize the different celebrations. So on the left side, you'll see our previous bus wraps that we started as of January. And then right side, upcoming wraps. So April is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. June is the LGBTQ plus month. And as well, we have a FIFA World Cup bus that is gonna be running from June and July, which is the last one at the bottom. So yeah, very excited about these different types of initiatives that we're having. And some of you were able to attend the Kids First Years event, which is the bus on the left side bottom. And that was gonna be running for 6 months.
And are these one bus?
It's 714.
Okay.
We just unwrap it and wrap it.
Yeah, one of the other previous buses that we don't have on here that we covered in our January meeting was the Transit Equity Day / Black History Month bus. We also did, it featured Rosa Parks. And then for March, we also had Women's History Month that is depicted there on the top. National Arab American Heritage Month is this green and orange one to the left. And then the May bus is the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, I believe.
Are we doing anything for America 250 then?
Yes.
Yeah,
so
that the July one.
That's
the July
that's
one?
gonna be July. We're gonna mix Alexander's birthday with the USA's
Nice.
50. So that's on the works.
It'll be unique because it's Alexandria's 277th, America's 250th. So the numbers will start getting a little interesting, but yes, we plan on doing that.
Yeah. And a lot of those buses we're taking them to various events. The city is doing a lot of events too that either they need a warming bus or a cooling bus. So we try to take those buses just to make sure that people are able to see them. So for May, we do have a lot of upcoming events. Anyone's welcome to attend, either just as a writer, or if you want to be part of the tabling, that would be great. So this Saturday we have breakfast. Wednesday, May 6th, we have ACHS Transition Resource Fair. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about that one.
Yeah, so it's for the middle schoolers that are transitioning to the Alexandria High School system, either the Mini Howard or King Street campuses. So we'll kind of bring a bus, show it as a display bus. We're also going to make sure that we have one of our buses that has the quantum Q strain securement devices, because some of these students are also require specialized instruction. So we're also going to have one of those buses that for any folks with mobility devices that kind of like get them a little bit familiarized with the system, and then answer any questions while we're out there. And then we also have on here our board of directors meeting, which as always is open to the public and welcome. We encourage DAC members to join when they are available. We are participating in a couple of community cookouts that are taking place this year. I have included the ones that we're participating in May and June. These are also great opportunities for the DAC to join out, because these are throughout the city of Alexandria, and these can be targeted opportunities for potentially recruitment or otherwise. We're also going to be participating in Bike to Work Day. So the Old Town Farmers Market, the new location next to City Hall, will be out there for that early in the morning on Friday. The ACPS Celebration of Learning was our part of our collaboration with ACPS. The senior class is doing a lot of end of year projects. They have selected Dash in the past, so this is part of our collaboration with them to make sure that they have access to our resources and contacts to, if they're doing a project on us, that we can help and get them in touch with the right folks to help further those projects along. We have our second community cookout toward the end of May. Continuing of these, we have a couple of events scheduled throughout June, and then some of the ones in July haven't been officially confirmed, but we do have the city's birthday and combined with the America 250 celebrations in Orinoco Bay Park. We have a career day at Naomi L. Brooks Elementary School at the beginning. Soccer Fest, which the World Cup bus will be featured at. We also, a big project that Raymond has been working on is our on-route charter groundbreaking, which is going to be taking place at the West Alexandria Transit Center. We're going to have tons of members of City Council. Representative Don Byer will be there, as well as other dignitaries and local representatives as well as community members. Members of the DAC are invited to join and participate. And then we'll also be participating in the Alexandria Pride Festival and a couple more community cookouts.
So it's definitely gonna be a busy summer, so feel free to join any of the events that we have. We'll definitely be sharing this. I know the event subcommittee will be sharing the list, and if you're able to attend, let us know, and we'll make sure that we have you sign up as part of the event.
And one last just point of update for the marketing and public engagement side is that we have rolled out the Google Workspace for the DAC. So everyone should have access. If you do not have access, I will make sure to get you access. Please just let me know. With that, we are also in the process of rolling out the shared calendar. So the marketing, the public events and public engagement can start adding items to that. We can also start adding items from our side as we kind of solidify our participation in some of these events. So everyone will kind of have access to that same workspace and events so you can see them as they come up, hopefully sooner than a month as we have these planned. And then we're also working with Nathaniel to try and get a Google site similar to a SharePoint site up and running for the deck. So those are just a couple of items that we have in the background, still actively working to get that calendar up and running as soon as possible.
Once we have that calendar, maybe we can have like a sign up sheet that goes along with it. That way you don't have to like email us like, hey, I'm gonna be there, but you can just add it and everyone can see if there's like a gap or event that no one's covering. That could be helpful.
Also open to any recommendations or ideas as we kind of roll out this shared workspace for the deck. That's all we have. And if you have any questions, happy to stay back, but also don't want to hold everyone. I know Peyton's probably, we're well into the close to 2 a.m. So don't want to hold you any longer. And thank you so much for joining and making time to be a part of this meeting. That goes for everyone.
I think if we could, I think the last slide is just the adjournment. Can we stay on this slide? Because there's only one other piece of additional business here. We'll be very brief.
This one?
No, the other one.
Oh, gotcha.
June 10th, the Board of Directors meeting, Jim and I met with Chair Kaplan and Vice Chair Waters. About, what, 8 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, something like that. I think we committed to looking for an opportunity to provide information to the board and attending. I think we need to just firm up our plan to do so. But I'll be looking to all members for anything they want to highlight, especially out of your subcommittee work or anything in particular for the broader deck that you want to highlight to the chair. We'll be sending out some communication to talk about that. But, you know, overall, I think a very healthy conversation. The chair and vice chair are both interested in having more connectivity with the deck. So I don't know if you have additional comments.
Well, just two. So the chair has been around a while, David Kaplan, and he was very familiar with the DAC, I thought, because he worked so closely with Josh and knew about the inception of the DAC and its purpose, et cetera. But the vice chair, who's been on the ATC for a while, like, he had very little information. And so the invitation to have a small presentation on the 10th is to try and get all the ATC board members familiar with it. But the other thing they've done is that at the beginning of every monthly ATC board meeting is an agenda item for any DAC updates. I don't know. It was discussed in that meeting. I don't know if anybody's soliciting your inputs every month. But for example, you know, highlights from this meeting will be presented at the next board of directors meeting, as I understand it. And so and when we generate a letter to the city manager, that becomes part of the board minutes. So we've created, so the bigger picture that Daniel's talking about is trying to make sure that the ATC board members have some insight of what's going on in this organization that's part of that. I think that's the only thing.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So that's the only other order of business. Anyone have any questions about that or have other topics they want to raise?
I said one good idea, Ferry showed up. Mr. Glover has been like excellence typified for years here. Like he's part of our community. He's the driver that keeps winning and he's going to represent us. I say, can we do a rap with him? I'm being serious. I think the guy deserves it. I'm going to throw it out there as an idea.
I'll say if he wins national, it'll be a hard idea to shoot down.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I was about to say around our birthday is also Transit Employee Appreciation Day. So there might be
A tie-in.
might be some tie-ins
Oh.
there.
Yeah.
So,
Cool idea. I mean,
Very
it's on the list. And any other orders of business? All right, I think we're, do we do a motion to adjourn here or we just end the meeting? We normally motion, but we adjourn. I move
Second.
All right, so moved. Let's get it. Let's go.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.